In today's video, we're going to talk about the rising star and the top commander of the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, Omar al-Shishani, and his intriguing life journey. Who is Omar al-Shishani? Omar the Chechen was a rising star in ISIS, the group causing havoc in Iraq. At a very young age, this tough military leader was easily recognized. He stood out thanks to his fiery red beard. His name was Omar al-Shishani. His story tells us a lot about ISIS, not just about how big they are, but how fierce they can be. Omar comes from the rough Pankisi Gorge in Georgia. It's like the tough school for terrorists, according to experts like Patrick M. Skinner from the Sufan Group. Unlike someone growing up in comfy Saudi Arabia, Omar's childhood was all about a particular way of thinking. He didn't stumble upon it later. It's how he was raised. Omar was in charge of ISIS forces in Syria, working hard to wipe out the line between Syria and Iraq. Experts even think he might have been the big boss of all ISIS. His journey shows us not only how tricky ISIS is, but also how one person, shaped by a tough life, can make a big impact. Al-Shishani, originally named Tarkan Batirashvili, comes from the turbulent Caucasus region in Georgia, a place marked by conflict throughout its entire existence. A neighbor shared with the Associated Press that he once served in the country's army, but had to leave due to illness. Leading a force of between 500 and 1,000 fighters, al-Shishani has ascended the ranks through a consistent string of victories. His groups have adeptly avoided major setbacks, maneuvering through battles against both Maliki forces and troops loyal to Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad without suffering crippling losses. Why did al-Shishani stand out? Al-Shishani's predecessor, Abu Abdulrahman al-Bilawi al-Anbari, was assassinated in Mosul when ISIS was taking over northern Iraq. Unlike the big boss of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, Omar the Chechen wasn't afraid to show his face. He popped up on a video once asking God to make his fellow fighters martyrs if they couldn't set up the huge Islamic State. In the video, al-Shishani makes it clear why they're fighting, saying everyone understands it. They were seriously determined to build this thing called the Caliphate. It's not by chance that he was in the spotlight. ISIS was big on their image all over Twitter, and they even changed their name to Islamic State to make their goals crystal clear. Al-Shishani's style is very different from al-Baghdadi's, which is hardly ever seen in pictures. Keeping a low profile adds to al-Baghdadi's respect among fighters, at least according to many terror experts. Al-Shishani's first command. Omar al-Shishani took charge of the Muhajirin Brigade, a group of foreign fighters formed in 2012. They jumped into action during the Battle of Aleppo and later teamed up with the al-Nusra Front to raid an air defense and Scud missile base in Aleppo in October 2012. In December 2012, they joined forces with the al-Nusra Front again to capture the Sheikh Suleiman army base in western Aleppo. Moving into 2013, alongside the Tawhid Brigades and al-Nusra Front, they attacked the Syrian Army's 80th Regiment base near Aleppo's main airport. By March 2013, reports mentioned the Muhajirin Brigade merging with two Syrian groups, Jaish Mohammed and Kataib Khatab, to create a new group called Jaish al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar, or the Army of Emigrants and Helpers. This combined force played a key role in capturing Menakh Air Base in August 2013. During this operation, a Vehicle Improvised Explosive Device, or VBIED, driven by two brigade members, caused significant casualties among the remaining Syrian Armed Forces defenders. Another branch of the Muhajirin Brigade was involved in the 2013 events in Latakia. Al-Shishani's various ventures, rise, and controversies regarding his passing. Joshua Landis, heading the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Oklahoma, points out that Shishani gained recognition during the 2013 capture of the Menakh Air Base from Syrian government forces. US-backed rebels collaborated with Shishani's mostly foreign fighter militia, using suicide bombers to ultimately seize the airbase after a prolonged 2-year siege in northern Syria. Georgia police nabbed him for having illegal arms, as shared by a neighbor with the Associated Press. Al-Shishani left Georgia in 2010, making his way to Turkey. 3 years later, he surfaced in Syria, pledging loyalty to al-Baghdadi amidst the country's ongoing civil war. The State Department's figures put foreign fighters in the Syrian civil war at around 9,000, with the Chechens, battle-hardened from decades of conflict with Russia in the Caucasus, ranking among the most formidable. Al-Shishani's fighters played a crucial role in seizing Manag Air Base in the contested Syrian north. While ISIS was initially believed to heavily recruit within Iraq, it shifted its gears, focusing on individuals showcasing combat skills, contrasting sharply with the favoritism seen under Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, according to analysts. Skinner notes that Shishani's unit excels wherever they go. In the jihadist hierarchy, where fear and respect determine positions, the Chechens, led by al-Shishani, command the highest regard. Transitioning to ISIS, Shishani ascended the ranks, earning a reputation as a charismatic leader favored by troops. Despite several reports of his death, including a claim in March 2016 by the United States following a bombing raid, uncertainties persist. Landis emphasizes the fog surrounding Shishani's fate, leaving unanswered questions about whether the news is linked to the 2006 March bombing or represents some other occasion. What was the rebel commander like? How did other people see him? Coming from Georgia, Tarkan Batirashvili, known as Shishani or Omar the Chechen, was a tough and experienced fighter. Washington considered him one of the most wanted leaders of the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, putting a very significant bounty on his head. Even though Shishani's exact rank wasn't clear, U.S. officials saw him as the equivalent of the Secretary of Defense for ISIL. Growing up in Georgia's Pankisi Gorge, mostly home to Chechens, Shishani first fought against Russian forces as a Chechen rebel. In 2006, he joined the Georgian military, later clashing with Russians in Georgia in 2008. Coming back to the scene in northern Syria, Shishani led a group of foreign fighters, eventually rising to a senior position in ISIL. The militant group, known for its tough stance, grabbed a great deal of land north and west of Baghdad in 2014. But as Iraqi forces, supported by US-led airstrikes, fought back, ISIL started losing ground. Facing these challenges, ISIL changed tactics, targeting civilians, especially Shia Muslims. Experts warned that as ISIL keeps losing territory, there might be more attacks on civilians. Shishani's journey from the rough terrain of Georgia to being a key figure in ISIL shows the twists and turns in the world of conflict and how individuals can flourish within extremist groups. How did the controversial ISIS top commander pass away? The aftermath. The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, claimed that Omar al-Shishani, a high-ranking commander, had been killed in Iraq, according to an affiliated website. The report suggests he was slain in the town of Sharqat while participating in the defense against a military campaign on Mosul. Although the ISIL-linked Amaq website doesn't specify the timing of Shishani's passing, losing such a key commander is a significant setback for the group, which had already been facing numerous challenges in Iraq at the time. Mosul stands as the last ISIL-held city in Iraq, but Al Jazeera couldn't independently verify the report. In March, the Pentagon announced the killing of Shishani by U.S. forces, anticipating a hindrance to ISIL's operation in Iraq, Syria, and beyond. Al Jazeera's Tom Ackerman, reporting from Washington, D.C., downplays the importance of Shishani's reported death from the U.S. perspective, questioning why ISIL is willing to admit it. The circumstances of Shishani's passing, prematurely announced by U.S. officials, remain unspecified, leaving the actual impact on the Mosul conflict to be determined by further information from the Pentagon and Iraqi command. On July 19, 2018, Turkish authorities announced the capture of 5 ISIL suspects in Istanbul, including Sida Dudukeva. Her father, Asu Dudukayev, is Chechen, and he used to be a Chechen minister but was fired by Ramzan Kadyrov for not stopping his daughter from going to Syria to be with her first husband, Hamzat Borchashvili. Sadly, on July 24th, Batirashvili's older brother, Tamaz Batirashvili, passed away from injuries he received in a US-led airstrike on al-Shaddadi 4 months earlier. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and comment on this video. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like what we're doing and want us to continue with more cool content. Until the next time.